Hey everybody, we've got quite the treat for you today. What are we doing? We're going to explore a place that's right here in the Treasure Valley that a lot of people don't know about. And it's such a very nice, peaceful place just to go hang out. And the price is a Goodwill donation. So there's no reason you can't get down there too. What am I talking about? Well, let's find out next. Hey everybody, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave. You know your great real estate agent by your side when it comes time to buy a home, sell a home, or even relocate to the Treasure Valley. And if you're going to relocate to the Treasure Valley, if you're just going to come up here for a vacation, or maybe you already live here and you just need someplace that's kind of fun, interesting, peaceful, calming, gosh, don't we all need that? Well, you're going to want to check out today's video. So where are we at? We're at Cleo's Ferry. Where's that? Well, that's between Melba and Murphy, and it's right off of the Highway 45. It's right next to Walter's Ferry as you go over the Snake River. And that's where we just started coming down from the parking lot of that gas station at Walter's Ferry. And you may know where I'm talking about. And it's just this little tiny path you take down here, and then here we are. All right, so let's take a little trip over to Cleo's Ferry. So we've just come off of Walter's Ferry. That's the gas station that's right there off of Highway 45 as you go over the Snake River. And at one end of the parking lot, there's this like little tiny turnoff, and that's the road that we're on right now, going down to Cleo's Ferry. So we're going to take a little walking tour through here. I'm not going to like highly over edit this because I want you to kind of get a feel for what it'd be like to actually come down here yourself. And you just have to live with that until you actually get a chance to come down here on your own, which I'm quite certain you will at some point because it really is a pretty nice place. Also, I'm going to give you some history about Cleo's Ferry and what that's all about. Who is Cleo? No, it's not that medium that you call in a 976 number in the middle of the night back in the 90s. This is a whole different story. And there we are. Cleo's Ferry Museum, 1966. Designed, inspired, delight, and entertain. And it does that with without exception. So we kind of start off here and walk around the old ferry buildings. This was a whole complex at one point. And we see they have buildings, and so they have a lot of figurines, a lot of art, a lot of, well, peacocks. We've got some peacocks around here as well, and we'll get a chance to take a look at those. So it looks like a resident, looks like it used to be a church over there. And there are still a couple of people that still live down here on the property. Oh, there's one of those peacocks. Very nice. Totem pole. Church bell, or school bell. And those little signs, those little motivational signs all over the place. You can see at one time this must have really been a hub of activity going on over here. Yeah. And that place in front of us right there, that is a private home. Someone actually lives right in there. Could you imagine being so lucky as to live right there? And your backyard backs up to the Snake River. That is pretty cool. There's some more peacocks. Watch out, fellas. Wow. Just imagine if that was your backyard over there. Uh-oh, got a partially erect peacock there. Needs to work on it a little bit more. All right. So what we have here in this complex is a lot of walking paths. You kind of make a big loop, and along the way you'll be entertained and awe-inspired. And we're going to start that path here in just a moment, so as we can figure out how to negotiate this marauding gang afoul. There, I think I see a break. Let's go for it. And there's some more. These guys must just be waiting. Probably a union thing. Wait till after lunch, and then they'll start chasing people. So that is one thing about Cleo's Ferry is they don't allow dogs down here. I'm sure there's a reason for that, and a story behind it. The reason is because of the peacocks, and they also have other fowl as well. You're going to see some partridges or quail or some such here after a bit. They're all over the place, and just kind of like kitsch, sort of like kitsch, without the negative connotation. It's kind of like if Cracker Barrel had a outdoor picnic area. This would probably be it. And over there up on top of that hill, you see that? That's a big old rainbow. We'll be seeing that again after a bit. Yeah, I could pack a lunch and be quite happy eating a tangwich right there all afternoon. So I'm going to give you some of the history too. So this is from the Swain family. And the Swain family came to America as Quakers from England to join the William Penn in Pennsylvania. The first of the family to arrive was 19-year-old William, who landed in Philadelphia on the 15th of September of 1708. His own account of his religious conversion to the Society of Friends and his travel to America is as follows. About the year 1704, my father, mother, and myself were convinced and received the truth, and in the year 1707, by the consent of my father and mother, I went to London in order to go to Pennsylvania, my father having both taken my passage and paid for it. I went on board with my tender parents, and then they left me on board the West River Merchant, bound for Maryland. But by contrary winds, the vessel was detained about the coast of England. By this time, my great heat and desire to transport myself to Pennsylvania was abated, and so I returned home to my friends. But in a little time, it rose again, and I went to Bristol, and there went on board a ship called the Salisbury. And in 5 weeks and 4 days, we arrived in the American shore. In about a year and a half, my tender parents and brothers and sisters arrived here also, and my father purchased 425 acres of land in Marlborough Township in Chester County in Pennsylvania. So here we are looking at their little zoo. Got a rhino there. What's the first thing you thought of when you saw that rhino? I wonder if it's the same thing I thought of. And you see up there on the hilltop, you see that rainbow again. And in case there's any question, and we'll find out some more context on that later, it's about God's promise to humanity. So some more history. Our line descends from William's younger brother Francis, who sailed to America with his parents when he was about 13 years old. This branch moved to Virginia about 1785, then to Ohio about 1810, and on to Indiana about 1841. The wonderful children's book, Great Grandfather in the Honey Tree, published 1949, by Sam and Zoa Swain, is a tall tale regarding the life of Samuel Fothergill Swain and Mary Cornelia Gillespie, the parents of Dr. Sam Swain. The story, which is an often read treasure in our family heritage, begins as they are married and move far out west to Indiana, and ends with the feather beds for their 9 children. In reality, it was Samuel Fothergill Swain's parents who had moved to the banks of the Wabash River in Indiana from Ohio, and there were actually only 8 children, one who named Noah added along with other embellishments. Oh, let me jump in here. Here we got these figurines. We got Einstein, Lincoln, Samuel Clemens, the whole shebang. Perhaps the inspiration for the extra child was a great uncle named Noah Haynes Swain of Ohio, who was appointed to the United States Supreme Court by President Abraham Lincoln. The Sam Swain who authored this delightful story is the nephew of our Dr. Sam Swain. And here we're coming to a really fun part of all these brass statues. And what I'm reading to you is what is on these poster boards behind us there. They got the whole big family. Samuel Arthur Swain was born on Christmas Eve in Fort Wayne, Allen County, Indiana in 1887. He was the third son and sixth child born to the family in which the father, Samuel F., was an attorney, notwithstanding any experiences he may have had with honey trees. As a child, Samuel Arthur was called Arthur by his family and was thus known as Uncle Arthur in gatherings of the extended family. He attended the DePuy University in Greencastle, Indiana. I'm sure I messed that up a little bit. Where he first got the idea to become a doctor after spending a night in a local hospital due to an injury suffered while playing on the university football team. Following his undergraduate education, he attended Columbia University in New York City to study medicine. Upon becoming an MD, he married his high school and college sweetheart, Bertha Valerie Leach, on July 5th, 1918, in Washington, D.C., where he was a surgeon in the U.S. Navy during World War I. Following his honorable discharge from the Navy with his wife and their new daughter, Tia, Sam boarded trade and came to Idaho in 1920. In Boise, they hired a horse and buggy to explore the area and fell in love with the beautiful Melba Valley. Although by this time his parents and some siblings had moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, Sam wanted to live near the mountains where he could hunt and fish, and thus in Idaho he found his new home. Can't blame him there. Dr. Swain practiced medicine in Melba until 1924 when they moved to the rapidly growing town of Nampa. When he began to see his patients drive past his office on their way to Nampa, thinking that the best doctors would be in the biggest city, the big city of Nampa, Dr. Swain decided to relocate. In 1927, Sam purchased Walter's Ferry as a place to take his family to feel the peace and quiet that he and Bertha had previously felt while fishing along the river there. They expected to enjoy the sight together with their four daughters, Cornelia, Rachel, Julie, and Phyllis, who are seen in the family picture. Their fifth child, Virginia May, died as an infant in January of 1928. Tragically, his dear companion, Bertha, passed away just 6 months later. Tragic. Bertha was born January 8, 1888 in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and just 2 weeks after Sam's birth there. She was the youngest of 7 natural children and one adopted son of John Thomas Leach and Mary Elizabeth Loftus. Her father, John, was born in England and immigrated to America in 1868 at the age of 18. While as a young man in England, he had been active in a large project to distribute a Bible to every home in a city that lacked that book. Her mother, Mary, was the daughter of an Irish immigrant. Sadly, Mary died just 6 months after Bertha's birth. 3 years later, John married a lady named Valerie, from whom Bertha then appears to have received her middle name. Bertha's father passed away when she was 17, and Valerie lived until just months after Bertha was married. Practically all of what we know about Bertha's life comes from Aunt Rachel's book, Dr. Swain and Daughters. Sam and Bertha met at the beginning of their high school years, with Sam being 1 year ahead. After graduation, he enrolled in Indiana University, where Bertha left to attend the DePuy University in Greencastle, Indiana. Sam transferred there. Thus, Sam graduated from the DePuy and then moved to New York City to study medicine at Columbia University. There we are, back to the Snake River. What a peaceful place over there. Bertha graduated from the DePuy University about 1914 with a degree in English and became a high school teacher at Fort Wayne. Sam and Bertha were married on July 5th, 1918 in Washington, D.C. after Sam graduated and entered the Navy as a surgeon. On the marriage certificate, Sam's sister Anna is the applicant for the license for the marriage of Samuel A. Swain of the U.S. Navy and Albuquerque, New Mexico. His parents had moved there. And Berth V. Leach, Fort Wayne, Indiana, both age 30. Until the war ended in 1919, they lived in Baltimore, Maryland, where their first daughter, Bertha Cornelia, was born on April 21st, 1919. In the January 1920 U.S. Census, Sam, Bertha, and daughter Bertha C. are listed as living with Sam's widowed mother and his sister Margaret Anna in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Later that year, they moved to Idaho, where Bertha led the effort to establish the first high school in Melba. Woohoo! Traveling many miles around that area, which had at least 10 grade schools, she encouraged the financial support which led to the creation of the initial high school district, where Sam then served on the school board. Both of them were also charter members of the Rebecca Lodge, December 11th, 1920. Rachel and Julia were born at home in Melba during the years that Sam practiced medicine there. Phyllis was born in Nampa's Mercy Hospital in 1926, as was Virginia May in 1927. Bertha passed away June 1st, 1928, following complications of surgery, and just before they could move into a new home they had selected a few blocks away from their previous home in Nampa. She was just 40 years old. In 1946, after raising his daughters until they were all married, Sam married Cleo Ruth Spector Hauk. Sorry about that. Who is the very beautiful young widow of Dr. Clarence Hauk of Nampa. Much of their 30-year marriage is described in the book Pappy, the Doctor by Cleo Ruth Swain. The religious nature of the Spiker family, there I think I got that one right, can be perceived in this brief account taken from the handwritten family history circulated among the family members in the area of Wabash County, Indiana. At the time of religious persecution in England, our ancestor, who was a clergyman, was forced to flee to Switzerland. Near the French border, he took refuge in a granary called a spiker in the German language. To avoid further trouble, he changed his own name to Spiker in remembrance of this shelter and kept his real name a secret. After serving in the Swiss Army, our ancestor John Spiker was the first to immigrate to America in 1831. After a sea voyage of 60 days, he traveled to Holmes County, Ohio. You could take a sea voyage to Ohio? I'm going to have to get my map out. Where he secured work as a millwright. He gives his own brief account in the family Bible. I, John Spiker of Canton Bern, Switzerland, was born June 20th, 1808, and baptized July 1st, 1808. I started to America in the spring of 1831. In 1834, I returned to Switzerland, and from among my friends and acquaintances, I got about 100 persons to return with me to America, leaving Switzerland June 2nd and arriving July 19th, 1834. On October 11th, 1834, at Canal, Dover, Ohio, I was married to Elizabeth Krebs, who was one of the party. She was born October 2nd, 1815, and baptized October 8th, 1815. There's that God's promise. All right, continuing on. About 1855, John Spiker moved his family to Wabash County, Indiana, where they established a settlement called Spikerville. Wow. The community included a Spiker school featuring a good German-speaking education, a Spiker cemetery that is still well maintained, and an evangelical church, since the family was deeply religious. And speaking of family, here's the Swain Family Cemetery. What a peaceful place to have your final rest. John's great granddaughter, Cleo Ruth Spiker, shares his June 20th birthday as she was born in nearby Lincolnville, Wabash County, Indiana in 1913, the same year that Sam Swain graduated from the DuPuis University. Cleo was raised on the family farm in very humble circumstances. She preferred working in the barn with her dad rather than being in the house with her mother. Since she was a very bright student, but from a poor family, a high school teacher paid the tuition for her first year of college. She then earned her second year's expenses by cooking for a wealthy family. It was during college that Cleo met Clarence Hoke from Boise, Idaho, where both were students in Missouri. He was studying medicine and she was preparing to be a teacher. After his graduation as an osteopathic physician, they moved to Boise and then Nampa. They had 2 children, Dan and Betty. After Clarence passed away, Cleo supported herself and her 2 small children by providing room and board for a number of young women who worked as clerks for the railroad in Nampa during World War II. In 1946, Cleo married their family physician, Dr. Sam Swain, who had delivered her daughter Betty at birth, and also cared for Dan when he contracted polio. Together, they raised 3 children, Dan, Betty, Bruce, and Nampa. All right, so here's a representation of Jesus' tomb. It's kind of interesting. And we get to take a look inside. What do you suppose is in there? Probably the same thing that was in there on Easter morning. Let's take a look. It's empty. It's empty. Wow. But the tomb is empty, but the promise stands. Continuing on, we're almost done. Together, Sam and Cleo planned and built most of the buildings here at Walters Ferry, except the original Adobe Ferry Master's house. Their efforts included the God is Love Chapel built in gratitude for their first 25 years of marriage. Following Sam's death in 1976, Cleo planned and directed the building of the Medical Museum until her own death in 2008. This deeply religious lady devoted her life to working on her beloved nature trail, which now includes this kiosk. Her description of this labor of love is told in her book, Come Walk With Me. Additional insights can be gained by reading Cleo's 2 other books, The Little Chapel by the River and Footsteps Around My Door. All 4 of her publications are available at Dan's Ferry Service. Dr. Sam Swain purchased this site as a place of peace for himself and his family. As his descendants, we have enjoyed that peace and family love here. We hope that you will feel the same for this site and for your own family. Well, isn't that nice? That's a lot of history. And there's that little chapel up on top of the hill. Wonder if we can make it up there. And then a nice little fairy garden. So this is the first week of April, mid-April, right around there. Things are just starting to come out of their winter hiding. Starting to get a little bit of color here and there. All right, Treasure Valley Dave, get out and lock them hubs. We're going to be doing some 4-wheeling here. Wow, could you just imagine that what keeps you going every day, what gets you out of bed is to find stuff to make your walking path more enjoyable for not just yourself, but for everybody else that comes to take a visit. And yep, that's all part of the grounds too. And there were some ladies in the chapel, so I didn't want to go inside, but wow. Look at the view. Yeah. I can see why they fell in love with this area. All right, now the easy part. Well, I hope you guys have kind of enjoyed this. I know I've been doing a lot of talking there, and it was interesting. I flubbed a couple words, but maybe next time I'll do better. I guess that's how we can all. That's the only thing we got, huh? Every time we mess up, we just try to do it better next time. And now we're almost at the end of the walking path. Coming back out to the greens, the courtyard. There it is. And just one more, actually, I was going to say one more set of statues, but no, we got one more even after this. This one's all about for learning. It's amazing the detail that goes into these. I have no idea who made these, who commissioned them, local artists. Would be interesting to find out, though. Yeah, so you just drive on down here, park in this parking lot. There's a free will donation box over by the gate. And you can just come in and just take it all in. And here's the last set of sculptures we're going to take a look at today. Kids playing. And because it's Easter week, the crew put some Easter eggs out. Nice. Wouldn't it be great to have the talent to create art like that? I'm afraid I could probably, about the best I could do would be a Andy Warhol thing with a zoom function on the color copier. Wow, so what did you guys think of that? Kind of unexpected? You didn't expect to see that right there, did you? It's awful fun. There's so much to check out. Little things, big things. Gosh, and like I said, the price is absolutely right. So if you're going to be coming up to the Treasure Valley, or if you're already up here, make sure you put going over to Cleo's Ferry on your list of things to do. It's so much fun. It's so peaceful. It's a good workout. And you know, we can all use that a little bit, right? Well, if you want to check out some other great things that we have up here in the Treasure Valley, check out this chili cook-off that Dennis and I went to. It was a whole heck of a lot of fun. And I think you guys would have enjoyed it. And remember, before you come on up here to the Treasure Valley, give me and Marina a call. See what questions we can answer for you. Maybe you're going to be looking for a house. Maybe you need to buy a house. Maybe you need to rent for a while first. It's all good. So give us a call, text, email. And guess what? We will see you guys on the next video.